Okay, so we're going to start with Martini. Martini didn't get a lot of handling early on. We kind of left him to be bonding with his mother, and we left it up to him as to when he wanted to engage with us. And only then did we start giving him scratches and stuff. So he's still a little more offish at this stage. Now we're ready to do the halter training, which I've gauged by how often he comes in and asks for rubs. And when it gets to times when we need to spray him and stuff, I can get my arms around him without him fighting with me. He just stands, he understands movement from each of my arms. So that's our starting point with him. He will sometimes come for scratches. In this case, he obviously felt that there's a little too much intention going on here and a little bit nervous. So I'm just going to come and give him a rub. Stands for the rub. That's perfect. That's a great starting point for us, where he's a willing participant. He wanders off, I'll just go with him. So in terms of the attunement aspect, I am happy to step back if I get my timing right and he shows signs of discomfort, then I'll step back before his feet move. But once his feet move, I'll go with him. So now I'll just come and give him a hug. He really enjoys his hugs, and he normally wraps around me. He might, so they are just using the pressure on his chest to ask for backwards. There you go. So he's yielding from the chest for backwards, which is critical for us here. I don't want to be pulling on his head from the time to get the halter on. So right now we need yields from the chest, from the hindquarters, and sideways left and right. And then we introduce the halter. The thing is, how a lot of people do it is that just get that halter on by any means necessary, and then the horse fights it because there's sudden restriction. So I'm getting him used to being touched all over at this stage, and he's happy to yield with my pressure. And I'm trying to do it in small enough amounts that I don't cause fight. There we go. Just get him to yield his forequarters a little. So he's a little resistant there, but he does give to me. I bring him back towards me. So I see a lot of people, they'll put a horse into a crush pen or a small stall and get that halter on and then just let them fight it out. And people say, well, they fight once and then they're fine. Problem is, I see the downside of it when a horse fights and gets a release at that early stage and they start fighting. Just having that fight in there is a problem in itself. It sets them up for a lifetime of conflict with humans. I'm really trying to get this haltering process to be stress-free for him. The other problem with the get the halter on and then just let them fight it out, flip over, and when they get up again, they're fine. I hear that all the time. But I work with a lot of studs and, well, breeders, for those of you that internationally in South Africa, we call them studs, that will halter train a horse in that way. And they lose horses from it because that soft area between the ears, it's like in babies, we call it a fontanelle, but the bone hasn't completely closed at this early stage. If they flip over and hit their head before they're 1 year old, the chances of them actually doing serious damage is pretty high. And I know of a lot of breeders that have actually lost foals from that process. So yeah, I'm going to do it with the rope. This is his first time with the rope around him, but we do let him play with the rope, so get habituated to the rope. And this is basically now replacing what my arms were doing earlier. It's get him to yield from the rope around his chest and then rope around his hind end. Okay, step forward. That's more than enough. Remember, I'm taking any little try on his part. I don't need to wait for fight. I want cooperation in the whole process. So, as you can see in the video, I'm talking a lot. The wind was howling though, so that's audio completely unusable. Let's give him a touch on the face. I'm used to me rubbing him there. Something that I haven't done with him up to now. I normally leave the face till last on a young horse. They will normally tell you where they want scratches when it's on their terms, and it's normally their shoulder or their hind end. It's a little bit personal for a horse to offer their face to you. Okay, he went really nice forward there. So if he wasn't okay with the rope, if he hasn't got habituated from playing with it on his own terms, I would actually just have him get used to the rope in this session. He handled this well. So I gave him a break there. Okay, he handled the rope for the first time. He can go and have a drink with his mum. I'm not going to put pressure on pressure. I need to have him get a little dwell time. I don't want him to be under extended periods of stress. So give him a break. You can go relax with mom for a while. Take off the pressure from him. I'll get my rope ready for starting again. You see lots of yawns in the background. So as well behaved as he was, that was a lot of tension on him. And this little guy's my next student, so he's waiting patiently for his turn. We did keep Martini's sister, the stripy one there. It's his adopted sister. Kept her in, so we didn't have any shenanigans of running around and getting stressed with them being separated because they're very close at the moment. And when you're educating a horse on new things, you want to make them as comfortable as possible. Down the line, we can separate them once he knows the stuff, and I can halter him and move him away, and halter her and move her away, and then they'll be fine. But right now, we want him to be in a present learning frame of mind with no distractions of stress of his sister being away from him or his mother being away from him. So he's just standing there with mom. I think now is probably a good time for me to pick it up again. So curious what I'm talking about, Joe, but I can't even listen back to it with the wind being so loud. So this is his first halter training session, and it's just about getting the halter on. Once that halter's on, if he takes it nicely, whatever he gives me before he gets stressed is what I'll accept. So I'm not going to rush to the point of having him yield from that halter today. It's just getting used to the halter before the actual halter going on and coming off before I ever ask for anything, any communication through it. It's a little bit less stressed about my intention this time around. I think my intention might have been a bit loud when I walked up to him the first time. Now he seems a little happier. Mum walks off. Leave this up to you. Okay. He's like, I understand this. I'm not going to drill this over and over again. I just want to get him that he feels confident about it. So him habituating himself to that rope has done him a lot of good. It's around his feet there. We literally just leave them around and they go play with them. And they realize it's nothing that's going to harm them when it's not attached to a human. So they get introduced to the human separately to the rope. Now I just want to have that little rope halter touching all over his face before I try to put it around his face. And he's a big boy. So I'm just going to have Talia come hold this handbag. People call it a suitcase or a handbag. When they hold it at the top there where it gives you access to communicate with their chest for backwards or their hindquarters for forwards. And this process here will be repeated for 3 days or 3 sessions before I ever start asking for yields from it. So this video I'm doing for free available on YouTube. The rest of the series, when it gets to the leading, it's going to be available on tier 2 and tier 3 on the Patreon page, Heartfelt Horsemanship on Patreon. We are working on streamlining the layout on Patreon, but I think a lot of it's going to be through email and Facebook page. What are you needing? And give you links. But all the links go up on the Patreon page. It's just got a timeline thing. Sometimes feel videos can get lost in the busyness of it. How much videos we're putting up. Put up videos of all the training horses that come in, all the horses getting back to all the babies. If a student struggles with something in a lesson, so I'm just working out playlists that make it a little bit easier to navigate. Okay, so we'll get the halter just around the nose, and his head went up a little bit there, so I'm not going to go for further. I'll take it off. It's okay, that wasn't so bad. I got worried, but then the pressure came off. And that's the trick with the attunement side of it, is you got to take off the pressure before they respond with the behavior. So I released pressure when he showed signs of stress, not when he fought the signs of stress. Once you get to the stage of fighting, the stage of the sign of stress, so like if he pulled back or ran backwards because I kept going, then I'm actually teaching an unwanted behavior. So the timing is critical. And that's really no mess. He was seen, he was understood when he said, I'm a little bit worried about that. I took off the pressure, and just like that, he was better about it the next time because he was seen. Thanks, guys.